What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, all you lovely, lovely people. KG is here, back for another show. I didn't think there'd be another one today, but the news just never stops in Leeds United land, and I thought I'd, give my thoughts on it and touch on another follow-up couple of things just after the Palace game. Yes, that game's still in our heads and in our minds this week, as we don't play till Liverpool on Monday. So yeah, before I get into it, of course, please hit a like on the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, drop your comments below, and we'll get into the meat of the show today. Just gotta say, I haven't done it in the last couple of videos, and that's on me. I usually do it, but Yeo28, John Abbott, Mr. P, super thanks, and I'm sure there's others that I've missed out. Just thank you for the continued support in terms of donations on the channel. Really helps me out, helps the channel out, and is muchly appreciated. So yeah, I'm going to follow up on that. I actually listened to Patrick Bamford's post-match interview comments because a lot of people were talking to me about him and saying, "Please just listen to him." And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna give the people what they want." So I did listen. So I'll give my thoughts on that, and also on Javi Gracia as well going forward. Um, Yeah, Mike Adams, KG, typical Leedsy, and it is what it is. But I do have my thoughts on it. Gavin here, JKA 25 million, yeah, not quite 24.5. Give us the 500,000. We'll take that. Paul Gray here, great comment. JK got to be the worst bit of transfer business ever, even more than Seth Johnson contract and Peter Ridsdale's goldfish. I don't know why the Peter Ridsdale stuff always makes me laugh, but it shouldn't, because it really was the collapse of everything that I actually loved about players and football. But it is, the whole Seth Johnson thing was an absolute joke. And even as, like I say, even as a youngster, I knew that that was a bad deal. It was just a bad deal. But it's terrible overall. And it's like, whose head should roll? After 15.5 million going to Leipzig, okay, he didn't have to pay the 18, but you still had to pay a transfer fee for a player that we haven't even got, you know. But I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this because it didn't make sense to me that we pay a club a fee for a player that we haven't got, but yet that player who's an agreed a contract with said club, which is us, doesn't get any kind of compensation. So I was kind of waiting for this. I didn't know if it was going to be like the full amount, and I can't put the story up on the screen, I'm afraid, because it's on the Athletic and it's behind a paywall, and I don't want any copyright strikes. But David Ornstein, who's usually good at this kind of stuff, and it's gone around all the way, in terms of the news cycles, just saying that we need to pay Jean-Kevin Augustin 24.5 million after being found to breach the former player's contract. The forward now at Basel took his case to the Premier League club against the Premier League club to FIFA's dispute resolution chamber, who found partially in his favor. So maybe it's not the full contract amount, but it's a big old chunk. All right, it's a big old chunk. Leeds obviously can't comment because it's a legal matter, and blah blah blah. But that's the main headline of it. But I said at the time, and I can't remember when it was, that we was never going to win this case. I know that they tried to use the worldwide thing that happened at the time as a reason, but it was never going to wash. It was. I just knew it as a layman, that's not very, up to date with legal stuff. It just didn't make sense to me that just because we didn't go up by a certain date, that was the end of the matter, that we weren't going to have to pay for this guy and pay the club for said player. It just didn't make any sense to me. I mean, yeah, Max H, no sympathy for the board. I don't have any sympathy either. And the only people that it hurts is Leeds United Football Club, because now I know that previously Angus Kinnear said that this money wasn't set aside. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you're just going to have, what's the total? I didn't even do the total. 24.5 million plus 15.5 million. I'm not good at maths in my head, people, but that's a lot of money that you're saying is set aside for a player that we've seen for what someone say 48 minutes. And I just hope as well, because I know that there'll always be people that will say that this is, JK shouldn't be going for this or whatever it is. But let me just tell you in this way, no blame is to Jean-Kevin Augustin in this, not one bit. He didn't ask to be signed for that amount. He didn't ask to have his contract cancelled. He was in limbo between two clubs. I put it in a way like in a regular job. You think of it in a regular job. You've moved wherever, countries, whatever it may be. You've packed up. You've got an agreement with your new club or your hopeful new employer. But then they say, you know what, man, we don't want you no more. See you later. You're gonna have to go back to your old work. Your old work saying, mm-mm, no, no, no. We've agreed a fee. You ain't coming back here, mate. And you're in the middle of okay, what's going on here? And you know, whatever it is, and again, I think it's something like 90,000 a week. You know that wherever you're going next is probably not going to pay you that 90,000 a week. And he went to Nantes, I think. He's now at Basel. They're never going to touch 90,000 a week. They don't have that kind of finance in those leagues. So then you know you're in limbo. So I would hope that no one is actually going for Jean-Kevin Augustin in this. I would hope that people are a little bit smarter than that, and that this is just purely like the company that's at fault. And the company, of course, here is Leeds United. SB saying, why are we paying 90,000 a week wages to a guy with virtually no goal scoring record while in the championship? It wasn't 90,000 a week in the championship, SB. It was on promotion. So it would have been 90,000 a week in the Premier League. I don't know what the loan fee that we was paying him or wages or whatever it was then. That's a separate agreement. The 90,000 a week is for the contract, whatever it was, 4 or 5 year contract that he signed, ready for when we got promoted. That's what the 90,000 a week is. KG saying, no, Mike Adams is saying, my big concern and worry, if we do go down, will this take us to the brink? Well, this is it. I just hope that we don't get relegated and we don't have to think about this, Mike. But whatever happens, 24.5 million, I know they're appealing it, but I think maybe if they do appeal, they'll probably get what 2 million off at best. But regardless, it's over 20 million. That's going to come out of somewhere. So that's going to come out of our next transfer kitty. I don't know. It's going to probably come out of new contract negotiations for certain players. It's going to come out somewhere. You don't just say, "Oh yeah, it's 24 million," and it doesn't affect nowhere else in the business. That just doesn't happen. I know that the Premier League is rich. We also went over the accounts, didn't we, in terms of income? But 24 million is still 24 million. And we just have to wait now for the outcome, the official outcome. We saw what happened with the Leipzig, where it was agreed and they didn't disclose the figures up until the accounts came out. Now we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with Jean-Kevin Augustin and his appeal. Yeah, I don't think so either, Najee. I don't think they're gonna win the appeal. Matthew is saying, asking how imagine how bad this makes us look to potential signings. I don't think it's potential signings, Matthew, but I think it's more the loan. And this is what I was saying before when we signed. If we're ever going in for a player on loan with view to permanent move, do clubs look at us differently now and go, are they going to actually try and honor this, or are they going to try and do us like they did Leipzig? And for me, I said it at the time as well when we signed Tyler Adams. I'm just glad that Leipzig didn't, cut us off and say, "No, we're not doing business with you anymore." Otherwise, we wouldn't have Tyler Adams right now, which is insane to think about. But it's just not good from a PR standpoint, from business standpoint. It's not a good look, is it? And you will hope whoever was in charge of this. I've seen some people say, "Is this on Bielsa? Is this on Orta?" Hey, whoever it is, I don't know in what job you can mess up near 40 million pounds and stay in your job. You know what I mean? If you steal a pen at work, you might get the sack. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to pay for this. Um, JC is saying the rumor is, love a rumor, is that the board are trying to do the same things in regards to the McKennie deal. I've seen whispers about that, JC, but I don't really want to comment on that because there's been nothing really official from anybody that I like trust in terms of like legitimacy. So I'm gonna wait on that, but we'll keep an eye on that one. Okay. Gavin here saying this board have most definitely come to the end of its tenure. It's poor. Like we've literally spent that much money on a player and we didn't even see him. And I don't know if it's really his fault. We know that Bielsa's fitness methods were very, very stringent. We know that when we signed a player, we probably weren't going to see him for 4 weeks. Um, but I mean, it's just poor, isn't it? It's just so poor all the way around. Um, I mean, yeah, Ainey, you couldn't make this up. I know it's poor. Nigel saying sooner the 49ers take over the better and get rid of the bubbling Three Musketeers. Now, again, context. They've done a lot of good overall. They've done a lot of good. I'm not going to just throw them under the bus, but this is absolutely diabolical. You know what I mean? I just could, I think about it, and I mean this on a real, like, nothing matters level. I think of it on Football Manager. If I tried to sign a player for 24 million, it didn't go through, but I still paid the money and it went out my transfer budget, I'd be pretty mad, to say the least. Um, Gavin, I would prefer Rita oh, that's pretty good. I'll give you that one. Um, yeah, I mean that's it in regards to Augustin, and I just wanted to get my thoughts on that to follow up because I was waiting for this. I'll be honest, I was waiting for that one. But I just want to say something else in regards to what we've seen on social media today in on the Leeds United feeds. I mean, in between the 5-1 defeat and this JKA news, by the way, they put out a post in regards to Syria, I think her name is, 14-year-old girl that's done a lot of work, real good work for the Leeds United Foundation. These are things I talk about when it comes to PR. Now, I don't know if that post was timed or had to come out today, but if it didn't have to come out today, I would have delayed it because it's such a good post, by the way. Like, the video is really good. All the stuff that they're talking about in there, it shines a good light on the club. It rolls out, the old guard that you love, Patrick Bamford and Liam Cooper, who are giving out the award. It's a really good post. But in the PR sense, and I talk about PR on here a lot because it just happens all the time. It's so poor. The timing was so poor. There's comments in there that have got nothing to do with it. Um, and it's a shame because I think of it from the girl's point of view, her parents. She's probably buzzing to see this kind of thing. Leeds United are promoting her, giving her awards. She's met some of the players, and she's probably going through the comments and looking at it and going, "Oh, no one cares." They're talking about, well, we're spending 40 million. Do you want to give it to her? Can she play right back, goalkeeper? And it's just a shame. And it's what I say about Leeds when they do PR stuff. Sometimes they just get it horribly wrong. And for me today, that's wrong because it was a great post and could have shed real good light on the club and expanded the reach as well of the club. Just insane for me. And I just had to say that because I just wish they'd time it better. Just wish they'd time it better. But big up to Syria and all the work that's been done at the foundation because it is really good stuff. Yeah, I know it is shocking, and thankfully a few people have said it, but a majority of the comments on there are just, as you can imagine, we've just been beaten 5-1, and then the JKA news. No one's looking for this kind of news, but yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, Tommy G, you know me, man. When KG mentions PR, I know he's about to go off because it's sickening sometimes. Sometimes you need to just, stop doing it. And if you want cheap PR, just get all the players, all their agencies to put out sorry post. Do that. Do another Luke Ayling Stammer post if you want, but don't get a 14-year-old girl who's probably buzzing about this news coming out to read all that rubbish. It's just poor for me. Poor. Um, Now, I said this in regards to Bamford comments because a lot of you were talking about in terms of what he said after Palace, and I did listen to it. I didn't get the full things because some things that you guys said I didn't hear, so I got it from the Sky Sports Premier League thing. Um, yeah, I don't like hearing that guy talk. I'm not gonna lie, but and it just confirmed my things. But he was right in the sense of one game doesn't define the season. That's something I want to go back to as well when I talk about Javi Gracia. He was right about that, but he's very blasé, isn't he? And he's always been like that. I think that's just his personality, but that's not really what you want to hear after a 5-1 defeat. You want to hear something else. You want to see him bat away any praise of his 50th goal being scored. You want to see him do that, team and all that kind of stuff. But it nothing in there kind of surprised me. I don't know. I don't know what it is in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know Blinky Fish. What I will say, because I don't want to be too harsh, is that I think that could be a nervous disposition. That's me giving him, that's me shooting him some bail. It could be a nervous disposition where he's just in front of the cameras and he's talking and he always has that little thing kind of, he always does that, doesn't he? So I'm not sure about that. But I've never been convinced by the guy. I've never been convinced by the guy when he talks. I told you already my full thoughts about this. People that have been long-term subscribers about this know how I feel about this guy, about the I'll come back if the team need me if, within the last two games of the season, like he's Benzema. You know, he kind of talks as well. He kind of has that air of arrogance, like he's Ibrahimovic. You ain't no Ibrahimovic, brother. Okay, you're not no Ibrahimovic, but he has that air about him, doesn't he? And you just wish that he could translate that to the pitch at most times. But I didn't see much wrong, but it's been nothing different from what I've seen from Patrick Bamford. But you guys know how I feel about that. Nightcrawler here saying Bamford has always got that cheesy grin on his face. He does. He does always have that cheesy grin. But like I say, I think that's just him. So I'm not going to shoot him down for that. But he didn't. He didn't say anything to me that said we're going to get right back to work. The boys in there are gutted. He actually said that they're on a bit of a high, didn't he? I don't know if he misspoke there, but he said that they're on a bit of a high. Um, but yeah, nothing about it surprised me. And I always go back to when Jesse Marsh was here, and not only when he was talking about Bamford, then in the next sentence saying that we need two new strikers. But I think about the time that, and I think a lot of people forget. And I asked a player that I know, is this normal? But people won't remember this in the press conference. But Jesse said that Patrick Bamford was fit. Okay. He was fit to go, ready to go. As far as I know, that he's ready to go. But we have to talk to him and his agent. And this was when we was looking like we was going to get relegated. And I just, that's just another thing about him. And I asked the guy, why would you need to speak to someone's agent to play football? And he said, you don't, unless there's contractual issues, unless there's something where the player doesn't want to get hurt, or if the club have to call in the agent to say he's about to hit a milestone in his contract and we don't want to pay him this year. So we're not going to play him for the rest of the season. So we'll play him next season so we can avoid triggering a clause in his contract, whatever it may be. But when it comes to fitness and you're fit, you play. And I did find it weird at the time, and not a lot of people picked up on it. But that's just one of many things that tell me, we all know footballers don't love the club like fans do. But I think this guy is kind of blasé whether we stay up or not. I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares overall. But that's just me when it comes to that guy. That's why I choose not to listen to him overall. And that's just me. That is just me. I just can't do it. Um let's have a look. What are people saying? What are people saying? And I only watched it because you guys were telling me to telling me to do so. Andy here saying Bamford looks disinterested on the pitch, so no surprise to me. Yeah. A&E saying doesn't have fire in his belly. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I mean, he showed a bit of a fight when he scored against Accrington and said, "I'm still here," and hasn't done nothing since. um, Karen here saying Bamford puts himself before club and teammates. I'll say this, Karen. I actually don't mind when players are about themselves. You know me, I love confident players. I love players but they're confident and they back it up. I love that in footballers. But he does nothing, but he acts and has the air about him like he is about to get into the next England squad, or like he scored 15 goals this season, not just three. You know what I mean? He's got that air about him that makes you look at him and go, well, why aren't you better than you are when you sound like this? You know what I mean? But again, that's just me. Jack, you're trying to trigger me here. Didn't he promote his shoes after the Brentford win last season? Jack, I wasn't going to mention that, but you've brought it up. So I will mention it. Yes, he did. Okay. After not contributing a lot to the season, after being injured for most of it or sitting out, whatever he was doing, he says, great that we stayed up. There was like two lines of it saying, great that we stayed up. But I'm looking out for the planet. And if you want these lightning shoes, do you help? That's when I said, you know what, man? Please, no more, no more. But here, but it is what it is. Oh, guys, I'm so glad it doesn't bug me anymore. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Bamford stuff out the way. Now, Gracia, I want to follow up with the Gracia stuff because obviously, I was talking about him in regards to being firmer, being sterner, and everything else like that. Um, but he's got to learn. He's got to learn from what he saw against Crystal Palace for me. And that's the big key thing. And this is the thing where people are in between if he's the right man or not for the job. These are things that will tell me because now I've done my video on Luke Ayling and my thoughts on him. So I'm not going to keep bringing it up because this now veers into the Tyler Roberts situation for me, where there's no point keep on hammering Tyler Roberts anymore for what he does on the pitch or doesn't do. This is now on the manager for keep on picking him. So now this is on Gracia. We've seen him. He's adaptable. He adapts to different things. We're not going to just rewrite stuff. He's done that in games, and he's adapted to Brighton, adapted to Arsenal, and then Wolves. We've seen different tactics from this guy, but is he going to be strong enough to drop players, especially fan favorites? This is where I'm going to start to judge him now, and the Liverpool game is going to be a good test to see. I want Gracia to be strong in this, but it's not easy with Leeds United. It never is. It's never easy to do it at Leeds United. Even the most stern managers that have come here have said that they've been under pressure to pick certain players because of fan support. One of the most stern managers that you've ever known, and you hear him talk on Talk Sport, you see him take a new job every year, even though he's retired, is Neil Warnock. Even Neil Warnock, being the man that he is, felt under pressure to pick certain players because the fans loved them. This has been going on for years, people. And that's what I want now. I want a man. I've said it before. I want a manager that has his own mind. I want someone. I'm not saying Ten Hag will come in, but I want someone that will see Harry Maguire's not the answer, stick him on the bench, and give him his first start since January last weekend. I want someone like that that will come in and just rule the roost and say, "I'm in charge. We need to do something like this." And A&E is here. Yeah, Grassy will turn it around. It's one freak result, and that's another thing I wanted to say. It was a terrible result, but it doesn't erase the previous results that we've got under this guy. So, and this again comes into where it comes in for me in him learning from that, fixing it, and seeing where we go from there. But he's got 8 games to do it, hasn't he? He's got 8 games to show that he's about that. But at this point in time, if he keeps on continuing to play the same kind of players and not substituting them as well, by the way, that's another thing that he needs to change. It's no matter how bad a player's doing, the same ones seem to get up until the 70th, 80th minute before they're even taken off the pitch. That can't happen anymore. Play your best players, and we'll see. We'll see what he does. We'll see if he is the answer. Because even if we do stay up, that doesn't mean for me, and I've said this before, that it doesn't mean that he deserves the job full time. It doesn't. You can't just give it to him because he's deserved, because he's kept the team up. It's about what you do as well with your personnel changes, what you do tactically too. And that's what I just wanted to follow up on, because I didn't want it to seem like I'm saying Gracia out. I didn't even say anything like that. But of course, when you're talking about managers not making decisions, it kind of sounds like you want them gone. But he's the guy for me for the rest of the season. But we're going to see what kind of things he learns about. Um, Tom here saying need to drop all these legends, yeah, legends and fan favorites who don't produce and are way below the level needed in the Premier League, and that's what I'm looking for, Tom. But at the same time, I don't know if our board will appoint someone like that, someone that's headstrong like that. I don't know if they're going to appoint someone, but I hope they do because it needs it. It absolutely needs it. John here saying, KG, you are the man. Hey, man, listen, thank you. And you guys are great for always tuning in. So thank you guys too. Joe Mark saying need another freak result to beat Liverpool, and yeah, and obviously we'll go into this when we preview the Liverpool game. But obviously after the Forest game, I was a bit more optimistic going into the Liverpool game. But I'm hoping that this is one of those things again where expect the unexpected from Leeds United, and that they'll come out against Liverpool. I think it's going to be more of a Brighton Arsenal kind of tactic, but that we surprise them and we can get something from the game, at least a point. Imagine what a point would do, especially after that debacle against Crystal Palace. It would be absolutely amazing, wouldn't it? But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me that. But then it also wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool come to us and beat us 6-0. There's just no, this team, man. Oh, this team. Nightcrawler here saying, I don't rate Pascal either. You know what? I give myself a lot of pats on the back in terms of things that I do get right, and that's a lot of stuff. But Pascal right now isn't proving me right, and he hasn't done for a couple. If we're talking totality, for a couple of seasons, I see I see something in Pascal where I think that this guy could be a very good Premier League centre back. Where Pascal is right now, I believe he's 23 now, isn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, he should be linked to Man City by now. Now, I'm not saying he should go to Man City, but his level right now, in terms of his ability and what we've seen him do before, he should now be being linked to replacing Laporte at Man City or being another option for Man City. But he's nowhere near. He's absolutely nowhere near the level. And I completely get that with Nightcrawler in saying I don't rate Pascal either. He's let me down in terms of who I thought was going to be next up, but I don't know if he's the answer. Now I'm not saying sell the guy. I still think he's a serviceable squad player, but I'm looking for and this phrase, don't take it funny. I'm looking for real men in defense. I'm looking for real men to step up and be big, vocal, brave, and everything else in between. I'm looking for real players, real defenders to step in because I can't accept what I've been seeing from Pascal. Now, again, I know people can say he's been playing left back, but he also played left back as sometimes under Bielsa too and under Marsh, and he was never as bad as he was this season. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, yeah, at this point in time, Gavin Pascal is just a very good bencher. It's really disappointing because I thought he was going to get to the next level. I really did. At one point, I was concerned that he loves Virgil van Dijk so much, Liverpool might just try and sneak him and get him. But Liverpool would be they're not even looking at Pascal these days. You know what I mean? But that was just it. Nightcrawler again. Nightcrawler was selling punters mistake, KG. No, it wasn't. He butt heads with Bielsa, and for me, once you butt heads with a coach, it's over. One of you has to go. And you know what, Nightcrawler is bringing me on to somebody else. I didn't even plan to talk about this, but yeah, just in regards to your question, no, punters had to go because it was either him or Bielsa. And at that time, oh, I'm choosing Bielsa all day long. Just at that time, I'm choosing Bielsa over punters all day long. But punters was it when he was on it though. He was a man mountain, wasn't he? He was really, really good for us. And that's what we need to get back to. We need some more solid centre backs in that mold with just less of the hissy fits after when we lose. You know what I mean? But in terms of what's going on as well, someone was asking me about Nanto, and why isn't he getting starts now after being the best player and everything else like that? If we're choosing between Nanto and Javi Gracia, goodbye, Javi. Pack your bag. It's been nice knowing you, because even when if you go back to when Javi Gracia first come in, he benched. No, he started Nanto, but he kept taking him off pretty early, if you remember. Yeah, and now Nanto is on the bench. I don't know what's going on there, but it's unacceptable. Nanto is one of our best attackers. He has to play now. If we're picking between the two, it's Nanto for me. Goodbye, Javi Gracia. Uh, CB saying Adams out for the season now. Is that true? Is that come out? I don't know if that's come out yet. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully not, but it's unlikely, isn't it? It's a hamstring injury. Technology is and medical science has gotten much better, but it's a hamstring. So I don't know if he's going to be back this season, but hopefully Verber's back for the Liverpool game. We can only hope. Let's hope we get some good news in the press conference, whenever that will be. Leeds lead saying we need anger. I think he means angry players showing bite and fight like Tony Adams, Vieira, Roy Keane, quality leaders. Yeah, these guys they don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. Um, yeah, they just don't exist. So I do agree with that, and I'd even throw in David Batty in there too. He wasn't like vocal like that, but you knew what David Batty was about. He'd make it known with a challenge. You know what I mean? He'd go behind somebody or to the side, and he'd crunch them. And that's what we're missing. But I think football misses that in general today. Um, I got here. Okay, Tom here saying Nanto is a young player and acting petulant. thinks he's better than the team and acts like it. And then also here, Karen saying Nanto needs to start and not be on the bench. What I would say in regards to this, in terms of Nanto, is that I try and look at it from a couple of points of view, but I'm looking at it from Nanto's point of view. He's been the best player. He's been the best player. He's the main outlet. Think of all the games when he's on the pitch from the start. The ball goes to Nanto 90% of the time. You've seen it. It's Nanto and Prez for a lot of the tactics in the games that he's been involved in. He's very good at creating space. He's very good at creating opportunities. He scores goals. So I can then see why when the new manager comes in and you're the one being taken off after like 60 minutes in the first 2 games, 3 games, whatever it was, why you think, what's going on here? How comes I keep on getting taken off when there's other players that are getting 80, 90 minutes and they're not doing half of what I'm doing? So I do look at it from that way and go, he's got a case. He came on a sub yesterday. Yeah, this is what I'm alluding to. Long story short, I think he's just frustrated and he's got every right to be. Think about if you were the best player on your team and you're not getting played. How are you going to react? I don't think it's a case of him thinking he's better than anyone else. We've already heard from Jesse Marsh, who unfortunately talked too much, but he shoots from the hip and said Willie Nanto is a great example to have around. I don't believe, and I've heard from other people as well, by the way, that Willie is a great guy to have around. And I do think he's just frustrated, and he's got every right to be, in my opinion. Rodrigo's got a case to be frustrated too, seeing his place being taken by someone that hardly stays fit and has got 3 goals all season long. I can see why he'd be frustrated. And of course, you're going to be frustrated down the bottom of the league. I think it's just normal, but that's just me. That's my opinion. Um, let's have a look. What's everyone saying in regards to that? If you got any thoughts, if you got any thoughts, put it in the comments afterwards. It's all good. Um, yeah, I've gone into stuff that I didn't even plan to go into. That's what happens when you go live, though, man. People. That's the great thing about going live, though. You cover issues that are on people's mind. Tom's not having it though. Nanto needs to grow up. Fair enough. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. But when he's been the best player and when he comes on, whenever it will be again, and gets a goal, I'm sure everyone will be celebrating that. When he takes out 2, 3 players with his dribbling skills, sets someone up, I'm sure that will be celebrated. Or we can keep going with the huff and puff of Aronson, Harrison, and everything else, and getting nowhere. But hey, is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, people. I'm gonna leave it there. I wasn't planning on going long today. Oh, I just wanted to quickly say as well, in terms of our relegation rivals, Dean Smith at Leicester. Once again, in football, the only one of the only like sectors of work where you can fail and get a job in the Prem. It's insane, isn't it? But for all the good work he did do at Villa, and he was really good at Aston Villa, I'm not going to take that away. The Norwich job was a catastrophe. That Norwich team is more than good enough to battle for the top 2 in the Championship, and he didn't do it. But now he finds himself at Leicester City in the Premier League. Crazy, isn't it, for football? Crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, I'll be back again. I won't be back tomorrow. I am busy tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see what else happens. We're going to preview the Liverpool game. Obviously, if any other bits and pieces come out the day after tomorrow, I will be back. Please hit a like on the video, subscribe, drop your comments below, and anything discussed today. And I will see you soon. Thanks for all the support, people. Peace out.